On the point of morals, there is no Aryan or European race which is not far superior to the Chinese. Again, to be reminiscent of what we said before, Blumenbach, and how at this time the idea that racial characteristics were somehow correlated to these other kinds of moral characteristics was something that was strongly enough believed that you could put in a congressional report. On the basis of this report and other politics, in 1879, Congress acts to limit to 15 the number of passengers on ships from China. Okay, so this is clearly a way of reducing immigration without specifically doing so. And this is interestingly, this is the sort of thing that Congress has tried before. In 1819, they passed the Passenger Act, which also put some restrictions on how many people could be on a boat. Nothing as silly as this. Their restrictions had to do with the number of square feet or cubic feet per person. This is simply 15, no matter how big the boat is. This has again support by both parties, but it's vetoed because Hayes says it still clearly infringes on the Burlingame Treaty. So in 1881, Senator John F. Miller of California introduces an act to exclude Chinese immigration entirely for 20 years, and that is vetoed by Chester Arthur and immortalized in this cartoon again by Thomas Nast. At last, the Democratic Tiger has something to hold on to. We see this as the Democratic Tiger. At that time, that's a symbol of Tammany Hall as well as the Democratic Party at large. And on that tree is the veto, which is Chester Arthur's veto of the 1881 Chinese Exclusion Act based on the Burlingame Treaty. But as these things go, in 1882, the act is revised. The Burlingame Treaty is also renegotiated. The term is reduced from 20 to 10 years. That is, the Exclusion Act will cover 10 years instead of 20 years. This Arthur felt was okay. The Burlingame Treaty said that we could not exclude Chinese immigration completely, but could regulate it and could stop it temporarily. There were provisions to expel Chinese; those were removed, and the rights of resident Chinese to leave and return were added to the act. And internal passport systems. On the original act, Chinese immigrants had to have documentation proving that they were not illegal. These were, after all, about to become the first illegal immigrants. Most of these changes, as you can see, in a way, can be seen as serving the needs of employers more than the needs of the Chinese. But nonetheless, after revision, Arthur signs the act, and Nast writes another fine cartoon. Freedom to all is what it says on the tree. That's again the same Chinese guy hanging upside down, just as in the previous cartoon there. Let's get back to that one so you can remember it. Okay. So there he is again with the tiger, and now there's an elephant hanging on the tiger. Now both parties have something to hang on. Notice this too. This honor are easy as a reference to his the previous shocking cartoon about the end of Reconstruction. Honors are easy. Okay. Nests are self-referential. Okay. So is that all fairly clear so far? Okay. So in 1882, then the Chinese Exclusion Act is passed. It stipulates a 10-year period, and it's a little bit less harsh than the original act that was suggested by Senator Miller. After the act, it's not too surprising. I think it was widely understood that this would happen, that there would be more, that the act would be continuously renewed. And in fact, it was. In 1888, the Scott Act revokes the right of return, and that actually strands about 20,000 Chinese immigrants. That's a particularly nasty one. In 1892, the Geary Act simply renews, but also requires this internal passport, this provision that had been dropped in the first go-round. But 1892 is, of course, 10th anniversary, so it would expire in 1892. So they passed it again in 1892. In 1902, it's extended for another decade. In 1904, it's made permanent. In 1924, it's essentially made permanent again. And again, it's made even more permanent again in 1928, and then finally repealed only in 1943 in the midst of World War II, when the Chinese are allies. We'll cover that in the next century. Okay. In addition, though, to the legislative violence, there's also a somewhat surprising increase in standard violence, physical violence. The best known case is this one in Rock Springs, Wyoming. And here, this is a coal mine that's owned by the Union Pacific Railroad. And by 1885, there are 331 Chinese miners and 150 white miners, mostly immigrants as well. The number of Chinese had been increasing. The railroad had brought in Chinese miners as early as 1875. And after unsuccessful strikes, so there's some bad blood here because the Chinese, who are of course excluded from unions, are used as strike breakers. They are paid the same rate per ton of coal extracted, but according to the company's books, they are actually getting less wages. They're getting lower returns. The average Chinese miner is making less money than the average non-Chinese miner. They're paid the same per ton, but the Chinese miners are apparently given worse seams to work. And I don't really know how coal mines work, but there's some condition. They're given worse rocks to work with in some way, and therefore are able to extract less coal. But there's still a perception on the part of the whites that the Chinese were favored, and so violence breaks out. And 28 Chinese are killed, and 15 wounded, and $150,000 of property damage. And that's really a lot of property damage back then, and that's a lot of death too. Congress did agree to pay for compensation, but only for property, which is again the kind of thing Congress does. After the 1885 Rock Springs riot, the violence spreads to a place called Coal Creek, and to another place called Seattle and Tacoma later on, and eventually the federal troops are called out to suppress the violence. It's kind of interesting to speculate on why the violence sort of increases. I mean, again, the data isn't exactly great, but one might think that after finally succeeding in excluding the Chinese, perhaps these Chinese haters would kind of give it a break, relax a little. But in fact, they are in some ways more threatened after the exclusion. Possibly that's to some extent because now there are fewer Chinese, and so deals like this are more common, where they're actually paid the same rate. When there's sufficient numbers of Chinese workers, they can be paid less. Right? There's a sort of a parallel labor market going on, and so the fewer Chinese workers there are, well, eventually you may get to parity. So in a sense, as in this case, the whites may have seen they may perceive the status of the Chinese rising, and that may have been threatening. Perhaps also, in their minds, the Chinese workers are maybe illegal. And as illegal or undocumented illegal aliens, that somehow justifies violence. That appears to be the kind of psychology that operates today as well. Again, this is speculation, but it's not speculation that there was still considerable violence afterwards. I think also the fear of the undocumented workers is also evident here in requiring these certificates of residence and things of that nature that we see in the subsequent Chinese exclusion legislation. There are cartoons. I think this one's fairly straightforward. It quotes, I think, the mayor of Portland, who says it's time that we should stop killing Chinese. And this one is maybe more interesting. This is after the Chinese Exclusion Act, and the caption reads, "Still they come." And the idea here is, I think I can make this one even better. Yes, this is an even better example. That's British Columbia, it says. And this is Congress. So the idea that even after the Chinese Exclusion Act is passed, after Congress bars the metaphorical door, Chinese immigrants are still sneaking in from British Columbia. These people are scared, as you can see. There's a certain odd kind of psychology at work here. But it is this issue of Chinese migrants sneaking in from British Columbia and also from Mexico that causes the Border Patrol, that finally gets Congress to enact the Border Patrol. The first job of the Border Patrol is to look for Asians coming across the Mexican border, not Mexicans. Curious. All right, are there any questions? We have a few more minutes. You could ask questions even about labs if you want. But you don't have to ask questions. Okay.